This is Gemara Baba Basra, Daf Kuf, Ayin Hey, and Baruch Hashem. We close in on this mammoth of a Masechta, B'siyata Dishmaya. Once again, we like to dedicate the learning of very continuous Rafua Shalema, B'siyata Dishmaya. We should continue being able to see the incredible Zchus HaTorah as there's a complete Rafua Shalema, Mirza Hashem, for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva. We're picking it up 5 lines from the bottom. And what's about to appear, Amar Rav Huna, is going to be a tangential, almost unrelated discussion. We'll see that it's going to have to do in a tangential way of a milva al peh regarding Yisayimim, etc. So says Rav Huna, Shchimara, Shehektish kol nechasav. A Shchimara, someone on their deathbed, seriously ill, was a makdish, gave to the Beis Hamikdash all his properties, V'amar, and then said, Mana leplaini biyadi. I owe Pliny such and such money. Neman, he is believed. Why? Chazaka in adam oise kenunya ala hektish. One is not going to make a kenunya. So if he says that the money belongs to someone else, we can believe, and that money will go to the person, and the remainder goes to hektish. Again, the point of contention being maybe he's just saying that he doesn't want the money to go to hektish. A chazaka, one doesn't make such fraud, conspiracy against hektish. Asks the Gemara 3 lines from the bottom. Asks Rav Nachman. Asks Rav Nachman. Would someone make such a conspiracy on his own children? Albanav. To Rav Shmuel. Of course not. To Rav Shmuel, I owe such and such money. Amar, if he says to give it to that person nice, then we give it. Amar to a nice, then we don't give it. Alma, we see Admai says Shaloi Lashbia as Banav. So what do we see? We see that why did this person do it? He does it so that Shaloi Lashbia as Banav, that his children should not appear wealthy, they should not appear to have extra properties. And therefore, the fact that he admitted money goes to such and such really wasn't true. He just doesn't want it to go to the kids. He doesn't want them to have this public persona as wealthy individuals. And with that, we turn over to Kof Ayin Hey Amid Aleph. And says the Gemara, so why doesn't that exact same rationale apply in our discussion about hektish? Hachanami, says the Gemara, Adam Aisa, a person is want, a person should do that. What? That he should not appear wealthy. He doesn't want, whether it's an ayin hara, and the top Rashbam spells out, what was his kavana when he said such and such he owes to another person? That he doesn't appear wealthy, and therefore, why does he believe to do that? Maybe he's only saying it so that he does not appear to be someone who has money. Answers the Gemara, Kikam Ravuna Hasam is Tinakat Shtara. When did Ravuna say that the person that he says he owes money to is when that person is holding a shtar? So if he's holding a shtar that he's owed money and there is an omission, then we listen to his words. Says the Gemara, 1 second, based on what you just said, Mechlal. To Rav Shmuel, it sounds like the case of Rav and Shmuel, when he said mana to a certain person, and we said he only did it sholas bias banav. Sounds like that would be a case where there is no shtar. Amar to know if he said to give it noisten. Milva plave, but says the Gemara, why? Very good, he said, I owe someone 100 bucks. Very good, he said to know. But if there's no shtar, then it's a milva al peh. V'Rav Shmuel, 5 lines down, Kovayin Eyam and Aleph Damri Darvayu milva al peh. Einoi goiva. A milva is not collected. Loy min yarshim v'loy lin al kuchay. So answers the Gemara, asks the Gemara 1 second. If we're answering that the case by us is that there was a shtar, such would imply that in the case of Rav and Shmuel, there was no shtar. But if there was no shtar, then it's a good old-fashioned milva al peh. If it's a good old-fashioned milva al peh, ask the Gemara, what is the reason that you're going to be able to collect? Answers the Gemara, Ella Amar Rav Nachman, we must say, I did not get shtar. Both cases has to be referring to in which there is a shtar, that there is no differentiation between the case of Rav Shmuel and our case. But says the Gemara, then how can we answer the kasha? V'loi kasha. Hadimekuyam adalai mekuyam. The difference is going to be whether the shtar was mekuyam or not. Amar Tenu. If the person said Tenu, the man on his deathbed, that in essence is Kaime lishtare. That is mikuyam vishtar, and that's why we listen to him. Lomer Tenu loy kaime lishtare does not have a shtar mikuyam, and that is why we will not listen to his words. So it's not whether there's an amonus or not, but rather there's a fundamental problem, and the fundamental problem is that there is. The fundamental problem is that there is no kiyum on the shtar. So if there is no kiyum on the shtar, how could we deal with it? Answers the Gemara, you know why? If he said tenu, then the wordage of tenu is the kiyum. If he doesn't say tenu, then it is not. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rabba Shchimara, Sha'amar Mana Lepleini Biyadi. A new case. V'amru Yisayim Baranu. So Shchimara says, I owe such and such money. And the Yisayim said, we paid him already. Now, manim, the Yisayim, the orphans are believed. Tenumana liplaini, but if he said, give plaini money, va'amri Yisayim parana, we paid, then emina na'manim, then the Yisayim are not believed. So again, if he says, I owe such and such money, and the Yisayim said, we paid, then we believe the Yisayim. But if he said, I paid, hafuch. If he said, Tinu, give the money, and the Yisayim said, we pay, then they're not believed. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Logic will dictate the exact opposite. Omar Tinu mana, if he said, give the money, since the father gives a clear, definitive instruction, give this guy money, so then we should assume subsequently it's very logical to say depare. Now it makes a lot of sense that the kids, the Yisayim, are going to come in and say that we paid, but in the first, and therefore they should be believed. But in the first case where the father said since the father didn't say to actually give it, so why are we saying the exact opposite? So says the Gemara, okay, let's try one more time. Says the Gemara, we have to explain as follows. 10 lines from the wide lines. First word line is Marav. Shchimara says, I owe such and such money. V'amru Yisayim. And the Yisayim says, Chazar ba'omar lanu abba barati. So we're changing the case. Not that the Yisayim are saying that they paid, but the Yisayim are claiming that the father subsequently said, I paid. Then now on, and they're believed. My time, what's the reason? Adekure midkar. We assume that the father thought about it, reminded that he paid. So originally he said I owe, and then he said he paid. But if the father originally said Tenu mana liplaini, the father said give it. V'amar Yisayim, and the Yisayim come in and say, guess what? It's true the father said that we should give it, but to us, Chazav Amar Abba Parati, then Einemanim. Why? If there was the possibility that he paid, he would never have originally said Tenu, for the fact that his original statement was so definitive. He said Tenu, give the money, that shows that we will not believe the children subsequently to say that he did give, and that's the difference between the two cases. We conclude part 1 of today's share with a shayla of Rav. Ba'i Rav Shchimra Shahaydamau. If a Shchimra admits to owing someone money in front of Eidim, what is the din? Does the Shchimra have to say, you are my Eidim or not? Should the Shchimra have to tell these people to write it down? Says the Gemara, what's the shayla? Adam mishat b'shas misa, ein ein adam mishat, and the first white line b'shas misa. Does one lie and joke around? Not lie, I should say better. joke around at the time of his death, and therefore he has to actually say Atamei Dai to show that which he's saying we should take seriously. Or one does not jest, and therefore he does not have to say Atamei Dai. Basra Debaya Hadar Pashta, after Rava asked the Shaila, he himself answered, and therefore the clause that we've seen so many times, the words of the Shlimara, as if they're written down and given over, and therefore irrelevant if he said Atamei Dai, irrelevant if he said Ksayvai, Lamaisa, there is a level of Namanis, because he said in front of them that he owes such and such money. From there, we move on to the Mishnah, the final Mishnah of the Masechta. Someone who lends his friend bishtar. What's the halacha? A basic halacha that we've spoken about so many times, that when you lend someone money with a shtar, the halacha is you collect from the chas b'shubadim. You collect from properties which were sold in the interim. Al yedei edim. If the halva took place in front of edim, but there's no shtar, then only gavim mechasim b'nei chayrin. Then you do not collect from actual properties that were sold in the interim, but rather you only collect from the chasim b'nei chayrin. We turn over to Kof Ayin He'amid Beis, continues the Mishnah, Hoitzi Alav Ksav Yadai. So case A was Alva Bishtar, case B was Alva with Eid. Continues the Mishnah, Hoitzi Alav Ksav Yadai Shu Chayiv. Someone takes out the money that the borrower said, I owe you, I am Chayiv to you, Chayiv Loi. Then government you can only collect from actual properties, not properties that were sold, not Mishu Ba-Din. Part 1 of the Mishnah. Part 2 of the Mishnah. What is the status of an Arev, a guarantor, that is appearing on a document after the document is signed and the Malva wants to collect from the Arev? He collects on the Arev's Arev's properties that he has right now, and not properties that the Arev has sold, not the Mishubadim of the Arev. Says the Mishnah, there was a story about Rabbi Yishmael, Ben Nanis says Rabbi Yishmael, ain't a guy, and nope. You can't collect from either. Amar Lai, Rabbi Yishmael responds to Ben Nanis, Lama Amar Lai. It says Rabbi Yishmael, what is the reason? Amar Lai Lama, why? Amar Lai, Ben Nanis responds, if someone is strangling someone in the marketplace, and I will give you the money that you're trying to get out of this guy. Potter, what's the reason? The loan was never created on the pretense of such a guarantee. Ella, Ezehu Arif. So that's the reason why, says Benan, similarly in our case, that if there's a document after the money is spent at the bottom of the shtar, it does not prove anything. So what is the case of an Arev which indeed does obligate the guarantor? If someone says, lend money and I will give you, he lent him on his trust. Rav Yishmael responds to Benanis, someone wants to be wise, what should he do? Deal with Dinei Mamish. There's no maksaya, there's no topic in all of Torah. A branch, Yaiser may had more than the monetary laws. They're like a wellspring fountain. Yishames as Shimon Benanis. Says Rabbi Yishmael, incredible accolades to Benanis. Dinei Maminis is that which could cause someone to be a chacham. And if you want to know where to learn by, be Meshamesh Shimon Benanis after he taught him this incredible halacha. So says the Gemara, let's begin with the first part of the Mishnah. Amar ula dvar tayrech milva b'shtar v'cha milva al pegav v'chasim mishubatim. So the first part of the Mishnah taught us that a milva b'shtar gets a mishubatim. Milva al peh does not get from mishubadim. Starts the Gemara, says Ula midaraisa min ha'toira, biblically yes, milva bishtar. Yes, even milva al peh gets from mishubadim. My time, what's the reason? Shibuda de'araisa teaches Ula the din of shibud. The din that one's properties are encumbered is a din daraisa. So why? Velamatam, what's the reason? Amru milval peh, einoi goiveh. So why, lemaisa, did we learn in the Mishnah that a milval peh will not collect ela min achasav b'nei chayrin, misham seida delukuchais? Because we don't want the buyers to lose out, and therefore, midrabanan, we don't allow them to collect. Asks the Gemara, but if that is the reason, the same thing should be by Melva Bishtar. We should also not want the Lekuchas to lose. So you know why not? Because Hasam Inu Ninu Dafsidu Navshayu. Because on a Melva Bishtar, we consider that they caused the loss upon themselves. Because if there was a halva and it was written Bishtar, it was public knowledge, and they should have looked into the matter. The fact that they didn't, that's the reason Melva Bishtar could indeed collect from the chasim mishupadim. So it comes out according to Ula. When one is collecting from milva bishtar from a mishupadim, it's a din daraisa. But milva al peh midrabanan, we do not allow such. For Rabba Amar, Tvar Tayrach milva bishtar v'chmil be'eno goyvel min chasim b'nei chayrin, the exact opposite. Says Rabba midaraisa, no one collects from mishupadim. What's the reason? Shibud alav daraisa. Therefore, biblically, one is never obligated to be able to collect from the Shubadim. And therefore, on the flip side, if we don't allow someone to collect from Mishubadim, no one's ever going to lend anyone money. So, Milva Bishtar, we allow them to. The classical Kasha Yachi Milva Benam, you should be able to collect from Mishubadim. Answers the Gemara the fundamental difference between a milva b'shtar and milva b'alpeh, or a loan and a loan that is transcribed in a document. Hasam by milva alpeh less leikol. No one knows about it; it's not public, and that's the reason why we cannot allow them to collect from mishu badim. We'll stop over here as the next daf. The daf that will conclude the Masechta is a shorter daf. Mirza Hashem, looking forward to continuing and concluding, and then going weiter in Shas and Mirza Hashem.